Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Thank you again for tuning in to this YouTube channel. We're so excited to have you connected to this place where we gather every single week to bring to you content. We're so excited to have you a part of our life, our journey,
our truth.
And you know what? You guys have been so amazing. We've been reading your comments and we've been just really blown away by the level of engagement. As a consequence, we want you to help us continue to grow this space, to get this out to so many other people who need to be blessed by what God has given to us. Simply subscribe. And I want you to share this content and make sure you comment. And hey, you gotta follow this woman right here. Follow her, Dr. Steph Walker. Follow me at drstephwalker3 out there on Instagram. And for more of our books and content, right now, you can just go to drstephwalker3.org and I will be telling you some cool things that are on the way real soon. We're excited about it. And I'm so geeked about today because everybody's got this entrepreneurial bug going on, right? And so you want to be an entrepreneur. And you know, I think one of the things we really have to think about, let me just set it up. I think that it is important to really have a strategy about how we do what we do. I think everything is really birthed out of strategy. And one of the greatest quotes I've heard, it really came from a book that both of us have read. It's really Atomic Habits. It talks about either you rise to the level of your goals or you fall to the level of your strategy. And I think sometimes when you don't develop a strategy or a healthy strategy, then you can replicate something and always wonder why that thing never takes
Come
off.
to fruition,
You ever seen people, for example, they have one venture and then they get excited about it, they post about it, and then it's up there for like 6 weeks, and then next thing you know, it goes silent, and then next thing you know, now I'm going to do this other venture, and nothing ever sticks. And I believe it has to be something about focus. I think focus is going to be key here because you really have to understand when you're going to be an entrepreneur, what are you going to focus on? I say it often, and I've said it in many of these other platforms, that you really have to recognize what is the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
What is the thing in the earth you're trying to solve? And when you focus on that and you're not all over the place, just throwing things at the wall because, oh, somebody did this, I'll try it. I want to sell soap today. I want to go and, I want to go be a doorknob specialist today. What is it that you actually want to do? And how do you get to that place?
And I would add that it's also about, so one of the things he said is, what problem are you trying to solve? And so you can kind of think about it in another way in terms of what void do you see out in the world, right? And so maybe it's not a problem per se, but maybe there's a gap. Maybe there's something that you can add that would make life easier for people. It can be something that's simple and inexpensive to make, but that you can make millions of, right? Or it can be something that's more complicated that you're sort of gearing and focusing it to a specific audience. But it's really about sort of taking that vision, developing that strategy, and really like owning it, right? Like you gotta own it.
Yeah, you do. Maybe that's a good way to start out, right? Maybe the greatness in you is designed to fill a gap. And I think to that point, whatever I think we are given by God is an answer to something in the earth. And as a consequence, it fills that gap. And when you,
And I would also say, like, I used to hear people say, I used to say, full transparency, if someone else is doing it, for me, I'm a firm believer that if someone else is doing it, then that's not what I'm called to do. I'm called to do something that someone else is not doing, or that no one else can do, right? Because whatever God is putting in you or putting in me, those gifts are specific for that purpose, right? Having said that, though, what I have learned over time is just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean that you can't do it, because you can either do it better or differently or add a twist that makes your product or situation or whatever you're trying to do unique. And so don't feel like, if there's 100 people working with, a certain company, well, you can bring your personality to your brand, right? And so it's about whatever you're doing, sort of wrapping yourself and your personality and your giftings around that thing to make it unique to the audience that you're trying to serve.
And that's so important. That's
Yeah.
so important because everything that you are, is locked in on that thing coming to fruition. So I think that's awesome. One of the things that, I really discovered is that whenever you do recognize that gap, right? You recognize that there's a gap, there's greatness in me to fill that gap. I think it's also important to understand, I think how to manage relationships to help you along the way, right?
Strategic
Strategic relationship. Let's just go for that. Managing strategic relationships, because some people don't do relationships well, and that could inevitably hurt your.
Never burn bridges.
Oh gosh.
Always be open to have conversations, even with strangers. This is something that I had to work on because my personality is such that I'm a introverted extrovert. Like, I love being around people and talking with people, but I don't enjoy just striking up conversations with random people and strangers. That's something that I've had to force myself out of my comfort zone to do. But you will be surprised how God strategically places you in rooms that you never thought that you would be in order to develop relationships that may not help you today or tomorrow, but 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 months from now. And so always be open and willing and be nice, be friendly, because you never know who these people that you're interacting with, one, are, or how they can help you. You might, look at someone and be like, oh, well, they're nobody. They can do nothing for me, only to find out that that was the one person in the room that you should have made a connection with.
Man, you sitting up you traveling around the country, you're in the hotel, trying to get your business going, man. You at the elevator, you crying, Lord, you just open up a door for me. I just need something. I need a big break. Then the elevator door opens up, and there's one person on the elevator, and they're on the elevator, you're on the elevator going up. And you don't say nothing. You get off the elevator and God's like, yo, I just opened the door for you. If you had just spoken to that person, that could have been the person, the relationship that could have literally propelled your business to the next level.
Changed your life.
Talk to people on the doggone elevator, right?
On airplanes, on
man.
trains, planes, automobiles, like whatever.
Wings one day, man. I was sitting downstairs, man. I was ordering some wings, man, and this person was sitting behind me, man, and they were working hard, and I just, introduced myself. We got to talking and found this person, man, was like over, strategic partnerships, faith-based organizations. And when I told this person what I did, they were just like, oh my God, I've been looking for somebody like you. I'm like, man, just by having a doggone conversation
just by being kind.
Man, some of y'all be so mean out there, and you gotta learn, right? And say, I'm more relational. I'm that guy. I'm gonna speak to everybody. I mean, I'm just that kind of guy, and I think it's in right. Listen. But listen, you gotta do that because relationship capital matters. So stop asking God to open up a door. Then He opens up the elevator door. You don't say nothing.
Yeah.
That preach on it.
Yeah.
That's so important. But then one of the other things I think is critical here is when you're given access. So let's say now that you have the door open, you meet this extraordinary person who's able to do all these great things, open up opportunities. Now you have access. How do you manage that access? Because when you have access, the access was never given just for you. The access was given that you might manage it effectively and be a good steward of it so that whatever you gain in that place, it benefits people who are behind you. There's some people that may not ever have the access that you have. So whatever gap you're feeling, whatever entrepreneurial bug you have to see it as a communal thing and not an individual thing. We're so individualistic in this society that we miss the idea that these doors aren't just opening for us. They're opening for generations. They're opening for our communities. And so how do I then manage that access and do it effectively?
Like we always say, like, if you, for example, if I'm the first one to walk through the door, or if I'm the only one that looks like myself in the room, that's okay. But it's not okay for me to be the last person that looks like myself in the room, right? Because then that means I have failed my mission, right? I've walked through the door, I've gained access. Now it's my job to turn around and help others, right? And so one thing that we also talk about, and I truly to my core feel like this is one of the reasons why we're blessed, is because we are constantly figuring out how to give back. Let's say you don't have money to give. Well, you have time, you have your intellect, you have your product or whatever it is that you are, putting together.
Yeah.
You can mentor somebody.
Yeah.
You can show someone the way. Like, you do have something to give, right? Whenever you're being blessed, you're not just supposed to be blessed just to be a reservoir
of selfishness.
There you go.
But be a channel of blessings.
Boom.
The chicken don't lay the egg and then have, I have my eggs over easy. The cow doesn't give milk and I'll have a glass of chocolate milk.
Right.
The cow gives milk for others. The chicken gives eggs for others. You have greatness in you, and it's not just for you.
Yeah.
It's to give away to others. And the more you give,
the more will be given back to you.
Say it loud for the people in the back, the blue emoji.
The more will be given back to you.
Are you kidding me? And you got to understand that. That's something we've understood. The generosity spirit is so important. And when you do that, you operate in that cycle, in that spirit of generosity.
And it will always come back to you, always come back to you, always. But then likewise, if you're mean and trifling and whatever and selfish, then that also comes back to you as well. So it works both ways. And again, that's why I truly feel that we're blessed. And every single thing that we do, we try to figure out how we can make a difference in it. So no matter what business we're operating, no matter what we're trying to go into, the question is always, and I know we talked about it on part 1, but how can I be transformational versus transactional in this? And the reason that I'm bringing this up, again, is because I think that this is fundamental. I think this is what makes and breaks a business, makes and breaks the culture of an organization, makes or breaks whether or not you find longevity, not just success, right? You don't want just success today. Anyone can have a one-hit wonder. But how do you keep people coming back? How do you keep people asking for more? How do you keep people wanting to help you, wanting to serve your business, even though they might not even need the product, right? Because whatever you're doing it in a way that makes them feel seen, heard, valued, respected, and it makes them feel like they're a part of something. So again, transformational, not just transactional.
That's so powerful. That is so powerful. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Watch this. When you think about this too, how do you, in terms of really developing a strategy, we talked about this earlier, right? Of making certain that your stuff is tight. Like your stuff is tight. I'm talking about the business side of business. The business side of business. And a lot of it has to do with, first of all, I want you to think about how do you collateralize your business? How do you make certain, for example, that you, in all of the spaces that you're doing, all the things you're doing, like if you have a business, do you collateralize it with content? How do you work on your marketing strategy? What is your target audience? Are you writing a book to go alongside what you're trying to sell? One of the things that one of my mentors told me is focus on ownership. Own as much as you can. Let me say it again. Own as much as you can. The more you own, the more you control, collateralize it. You show up in one place and you create multiple streams that can benefit the business that you have. That's why you go into one place to buy something and they've got, for example, we go to Disney World and we go ride the ride, right? When they got strategically set up
at the end of the ride
to come through
the store.
So now our kids are like, I want, because they have strategically figured out how to collateralize their content, right? So now we got a sword, we got a helmet, we got all the stuff, but they strategically put it there. How do you create other ways people can benefit from the very thing that you are trying to do? And that's how you do it. But I think it's also important that you protect it, right? We talked about protecting assets, intellectual property. Get you a good copyright attorney, get you a good attorney that could help you set this up in such a way, determining whether or not your business needs to be an LLC, S Corp, whatever, C Corp, whatever it is, you have to talk to an attorney. We're not attorneys, so we're not giving that advice to you. Right. I'm saying to you, find a great attorney that can help, because what you do want is you want separation. I can say this very clearly. You want separation between your personal assets and your business ventures. If you don't put separation between those two, then you are putting, your risk is too great. Your risk is too great in the litigious society that we live in. So make certain that you put buffers, LLCs, and then name kingdom things that, the distancing themselves from you. And you have to be clear about that. And I think that's so very important.
And you don't have to have a lot. Your business doesn't have to be, exploding for you to be able to do this. It's okay to do this when you're small, right?
Yeah.
You kind of want to do it when you're smaller so that when whatever comes out of that is protected already. Like some people think, oh, I have to be so big to do. No, you don't. If you have a vision, if you have an idea, and you believe that God laid that in your spirit, trust and believe that this thing is going to take off. If you trust and believe that this thing is going to take off, and this is what God really sent you, then put your stuff in order. Right? That's like saying, Lord, I'm praying for rain, but you're not walking around with an umbrella. Yeah. If I'm praying for rain, I got an umbrella in my bag. I have an umbrella in my car. Like I am putting things in order so that when everything starts to drop out of the sky, guess what? I am ready. I am prepared. I am ready to roll.
And let me tell you this. Think about this. I want to say it loud and clear. I want to put it big on the screen. Scale! Yeah. Scale! Scale! You got to broaden your scale. You cannot just always think locally, regionally, but you must begin to broaden your scale as you grow. And when you do things, not only that in terms of geographically, but you must also think about it in terms of culturally.
Yeah.
You cannot just market to a specific demographic.
In the silo.
You have to be willing to make certain that whatever you do, you're putting it out in different spaces and finding those places.
And with social media and just the internet in general, like, it is so much easier to touch the world, to touch people who you don't see every day, to touch people in other cities, other states, other countries, whatever, simply because the world is smaller now with the way that we're all connected. And so I think, especially if you're birthing something now, like you want to think broader for sure.
Yeah, you have to think broader. That requires you really, really taking on some risk in doing that. Let me put it to you like this. I say this often. You think about it, for example. Think about this. First of all, think about if I'm going to really increase my scale, I've got to, watch this, I've got to make sure I focus on the relationships. Right? Relationships is important. Developing the right relationships. Doing that's important. Because now I'm opening myself up to different people.
And relationships aren't just like collaborations either, but sometimes some of these people are mentors, right?
Yeah.
Mentors.
Relationship creates exposure. Then out of the relationship, watch this, comes relevance. Relevance because those relationships help me remain relevant, give me best practices, show me what's out there, iron sharpens iron. So relationships create relevance. Once I'm in the space of relevance, watch what happens. Then I'm willing to take greater risk because when I'm a person who's relevant, I refuse to be a once was. So I'm always willing to take that risk to say, I'll step out into the white space. What nobody else is willing to do. I'll step out. And when I start taking those risks, I read Hebrews 11:1 like this. Now risk is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, right? But then when I take those risks, guess what happens? It expands my reach. Now I'm reaching places I never have reached before. You got that? Relationships, right? Relationships done well creates relevance, and relevance done well creates greater risk, and risk, which once it produces greater risk, it creates greater reach. And guess what? Right in the middle of that, let's draw a circle and call revenue, because that's when it comes, baby. That's how it happens, because that reach will create greater revenue for your business. And I promise you that revenue then becomes a cycle of blessings, again, that creates generational wealth. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. We want to see you win. We don't want to see you hustling your whole life. We want to see you focus. We want to see you go after it. I want you to live by the principle, Philippians 1:6, the very thing, being confident of this very thing, that he who hath begun a good work in you will perform it unto the day of Jesus Christ. Man, this has been good, right?
Yeah.
Let's go get it. I think there's a person out there right now that's got $1 million idea.
Yes, I believe it.
$10 million idea.
More than one person.
Sitting on the edge of that sofa, listening to us right now, talking about,
waiting,
I got it, I'm ready.
For the right word.
We just got one word for you. When you come into your kingdom, remember us.
The little people.
Now we want to see you win. Go get it, man. We appreciate
Go
y'all
get
so
it.
much. And listen, make sure again, once you receive this information, just use it, let it bless you. And we're just vessels, man, trying to be a blessing to you. And make sure you subscribe again to this page if it's blessed you. Make sure you like, comment, share. Follow Dr. Steph, follow me. We're just excited to see you win. At the end of the day, we want to see you win. Because when you win, we win. Amen. I'm Bishop.
And I'm Dr. Steph.
Be blessed.